Okay, I see it.
Okay. Good. I wanted to say good morning, Judy, but it's not good morning. Some reason I'm stuck on morning. But good evening, Judy.
Good evening,
I am
Sharon.
so glad that you decided to come and join me on this table talk. And I am so excited about this book. Can you see it?
I can see
Is
it.
it a glare? Glare?
There's a glare at the top. It just shows my name and the potter's wheel.
Okay, the Potter's Wheel. Okay, but the name of this book is From Ashes to Beauty, A Story of Hope for the Hurting by Judith Webb. Judy, I got this book yesterday through Amazon, and I read it yesterday. I read it. I mean, it was so good I couldn't put it down. And Thursday evening there's a show that I like to watch, and it was like, I'm not watching it tonight because this was so good. I mean, I read it, I started reading it, I cried, I read it, I cried. And I mentioned this to you a little earlier, the thing that kept me reading was because it was so deep, I thought. It was so good, so truthful, so on point. And it was like, but the key thing that kept me was I know my sister is delivered. That is clear. So finish reading, Sharon, because the outcome of this is good. But the stuff that you had to go through, oh my gosh, it just reeks with the goodness of God on your life. So you have to tell us about this a little bit. What inspired you to write this book, Judy?
Well, for years, people have always said to me, you are the most thoughtful person. You're always so happy. You're always encouraging people and inspiring people. And a few people would say to me, your life is great. You must have never gone through anything because you're always so happy.
Did that make you want to scream?
I would say if you only knew.
Right. Okay.
And so I was just like, I've always wanted to write a book. I have always said one day that was my goal.
Okay.
But the more people would tell me how you're just the most thoughtful person. I've never met anyone like you. I said, you know what? It's time for me to tell people what makes me tick.
Okay. Okay.
A smile can hide 1,000 hurts and tears. And just because a person smiles doesn't mean that life is easy. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put it down in writing and just let people know what I've gone through, and to show them that no matter what you have to go through, that if you trust God, He's going to bring you through it and you're going to live a victorious life.
Right. Wow. Well, and Judy, what was your goal in writing this book? What was your purpose? Because sometimes people write books out of their experience, and you have to say, okay, well, what was your purpose? What was your goal in writing this book?
To touch women especially, and I'm not saying not men, because men are abused as well.
Right.
But I really want to just, my heart is for women and for women that are hurting, just to tell them, no, you can make this. You can do it. There's, there's a part in the book where I talked about living in a homeless shelter for 30 days. And while I was in the shelter, some of the girls that I met would tell me, their stories and what they were going to do to their spouse or boyfriend. And I would tell them, no, don't do that. Right. I said, you need to pray and trust God. I said, seeking revenge is not going to do anything but get you in trouble. Right. I said, let God handle it. And I would try to talk to them, and I was hurting at the time, but yet I was trying to talk to them to let them know that they could get through this. And so they nicknamed me the preacher there. Go figure.
Did you have a relationship with God at that time, Judy?
Oh, yes. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I asked that because it's so interesting, because sometimes we think God only starts in our life after we give our life to the Lord. And really, God is all involved in our life from the beginning to the end. Even when we think, my brother and I had this conversation today, and he was talking about when, the time when he wasn't right with the Lord in different situations. And we touched on this subject. We said, you know what, when we're in the lion's den, or when we make bad decisions, or when we're wherever we are, God is with us. Yeah. If we're in a pit, and this is the conversation, then because I want you to do more talking to me. But when we're in the pit, in order for us to get out of that pit, God has to take us out. Mm-hmm. Because trying to take ourselves out of the pit on our own is like being in quicksand.
Yes.
But right here, Judy, I want to read a little bit. I don't want to give away all this book, but I'm telling you, people who are listening, you have to purchase this book. It is so impactful and so powerful. And I'm not just saying this because I loved you, because I did not know you went through all of this. I mean, I didn't know you when I lived in Indiana. I knew of you. I probably knew your mother more than you, because your mother was a powerful woman as well. I mean, coming from, and I think I mentioned this to you before, coming from Philadelphia, moving to Indiana was a real culture shock. It was really a culture shock. So being at your church at the time that you grew up in, because you were a PK's kid, but going to your church and meeting your parents, it was like a breath of fresh air. We needed that. We needed that so much. But I want you to touch about, because this book is really about you and your mom, isn't it?
Yes.
A story about you and your mom. But I just want to read on the back of your book. It says, have you ever wondered, why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? Will I ever be happy? Will anyone ever understand? If you have ever asked yourself one of these questions, then now is the time to realize that this is not the end. Through Judy's story of disappointment and devastation, there emerges a powerful truth. If you trust in Christ, you too can have a life beyond ruin and go from ashes to beauty, which is the name of your book, From Ashes to Beauty. And I love this picture on it of this potter's wheel, but we'll talk about that too. So just give us a little brief synopsis. Did I answer your question already? I'm so excited. I don't even know where I am.
About what?
Just give us a brief synopsis of the book, Judy. Just tell us a little bit.
Okay. Well, I had always, like I said, wanted to write a book. My mom, when she was in the hospital, it was her last days. I didn't know that at the time, but she asked me to buy her a tape recorder, and she wanted to record her story. She had told me bits and pieces, but on this tape recorder, she just recorded her whole life story. And she gave me permission to write her story, because I told her, that I would do that for her. So it talks about her, like you said, the culture shock. She was in New York and came to Indiana, PA from New York. So that was truly a culture shock, because it was just
and this was when? What year? What year was this, Judy?
Oh, geez. I am gonna say
like a guesstimate.
In the 50s.
Yeah. Okay. So it was more of a culture shock to her than it was to me, actually.
Right. Yeah. And so her mom had passed away. She was poisoned.
Her mom
passed away. Her mom was poisoned.
Which you talk about it a little bit in this book.
So she had to move to Indiana with her dad's brother, and he was a pastor of a church, and so she was abused by this pastor, her and her brother, and so it goes into the abuse, and talks about how she finally was able to get out of that, and how she said she would never marry a preacher. And one thing that I've learned from experience: don't ever tell God what you don't or what you're not going to do.
Right, exactly.
That, he's gonna show you that that's not necessarily the truth. But so then she met my dad, and actually I don't think I put it in the book, but when my dad saw her, he prayed for her. He prayed for her. He prayed for her. And
He
so
prayed for her that he could have her.
he could have her, yes.
She could be his wife. Okay.
Of course, he wasn't a preacher at the time.
Right. Okay.
So his father was a preacher.
Okay.
So he had come from Indianapolis, Indiana, and started a church there in Indiana. So the church that you came to was not the actual starting church, but we had just a little church up the street. And then, so anyway, it talks about them getting together, and they got married, and of course had kids, and just some of the things that my mom had to go through growing up in Indiana, the racism and just, things like that she had to go through. But again, she was like an angel.
Right.
When she passed away, I was just, I had a dream. I prayed and I was like, God, please tell me what you're going to do. And for 3 nights, I had a dream, and I saw the casket in front of the church, and I just saw people coming, like just tons of people.
And this was before your mother actually passed?
Yes.
Okay.
So I knew that God was going to take her. And so when she passed, we had a viewing from 1 o'clock to 9 o'clock. There was not a time that people were not coming in there.
Right.
And the stories that people were telling us, stuff that she did that we had no clue.
Right. Yes.
Because that's who she was.
Yes. Yes.
And I said, you know what, when you are hurt so badly and you can love like she did, that's only God.
Yes. Yes.
Nobody
Because
can
because a
love
natural progression of something like that, being hurt people.
Yes.
We've heard this, like, hurt people like to hurt people. Hurt people, generally the flesh hurt. If you hurt, you'd like to hurt people, except but God. And keep talking. So your mother was a perfect example of but God.
Absolutely. And she was just, I called her an angel here on earth, because she just, the things that she did after, going through, and that same uncle on his deathbed asked her to forgive him, and she did. It takes a lot to forgive someone when they've hurt you and, just abused you. But she did, and she went on with living her life, regardless of being hurt. She just kept living and kept being the wonderful human being that she was.
Right.
And so I had told her, about, then I go into my life and rapes and failed marriages and stuff like that I've gone through.
Right.
And I said, I refuse to let this make me bitter.
Right.
I was like, there's no way I'm going to hold this against people because they didn't do anything to me.
Right.
If I had that mentality that, I'm going to be bitter and everybody that comes into my life is going to be hurt because of what someone else did to me, it just doesn't accomplish anything. And so the best thing to do is forgive and let it go.
And Judy, was it that easy? Was it that easy, or was it a process to get to that place?
Definitely a process. Definitely a process. And I'll tell you what, even in writing this book, I was so fearful because I was like, how will people look at me when they know what I really have gone through? How will they, how will they react?
Right.
But then I said, you know what, when something's broken, they have duct tape. And they have all these different colors now, and you can patch up something with duct tape, and you can fix that whatever's broken. But on the end, if you take that tape off, it's still broken. So if you're not transparent and really let it out, you're going to stay broken. And so by writing this book, that fear was just released. It was released, and then it came time to say, go ahead and publish. And I was just like, do I
For
really
real?
want to do this? Do I really want to publish this book?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So after publishing it, and then I said, well, then I was fearful, like, oh, I don't want to post it on Facebook because I don't know, what the repercussions of folks. And my sons were like, Mom, you are going to help so many people.
Yes.
You
Yes.
let people know about this book.
Mm-hmm.
So I did, and it was just like a weight was lifted off of me
Mm-hmm.
just by doing that. And so I've gotten so many comments from people, and a lot of the people
Mm-hmm.
have said, why didn't you tell me this book was going to make me cry? And
Yeah, I know.
so many people said, you're going to help so many people
Mm-hmm.
because of what's in the book and what you have gone through, and you can still be the person that you are.
Right.
I'll never stop loving people and caring about people and
Mm-hmm.
trying to help people.
Mm-hmm.
That's just who I am, and that's
Mm-hmm.
who God made me to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't be anything but that. But
Right.
I've been tried to, people have tried to stop me from doing things, or
Mm-hmm. But not right. You mean other things or writing this book?
well, just other things. Just be
Okay.
like, for example, I have sent cards to people for years. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
years. I don't know if you remember Faith. She went to IUP from Philly.
Yeah, I that name sounds familiar.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She came to Indiana to go to IUP when she was 18 years old.
Okay.
And I met her. And
Mm-hmm.
she said that when she got, because I was living in Harrisburg at the time, she said the
Okay.
next 2 days later that she got a card in the mail from me. And I said, that's what I do. So
Yeah.
even up until this point, her a friend of hers said to her, is she still sending you cards? Now this was since she was 18 and she's in her 50s now.
Right.
So
Right.
that's something that I have been doing all my life. And
Mm-hmm.
just one person in particular tried to stop me and said, you shouldn't be sending people cards all the time. That's what I do.
Right.
If I
That's
have
right.
your address, you're getting a card.
Right. Right. Right.
I
Right.
just like to encourage people just for
Mm-hmm.
no reason. I just
Right.
send cards. That's
Mm-hmm.
just what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, nobody's going to stop me from being who God made me to be.
That's exactly right.
I mean, you can't, and I would say that to everyone. You cannot allow people
Thank you.
or
Come on,
fear
Judy.
to stop you from doing what God has called you to do.
Yes.
Because then you're obeying man instead of God.
Right.
And I
Right.
told you the story about how
Good.
fear had me paralyzed when my uncle had dressed up for Halloween.
Yes.
And I was so scared I couldn't move.
Mm-hmm.
That's what fear does.
Right.
Fear will paralyze you and
Right.
make you not do.
Right.
And so you have to overcome those fears. And
By
so
confronting it.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And being transparent.
Yes. Yes.
Because if you're not transparent, I was telling my niece today, yeah, I know everything that I've gone through. And I could tell someone, oh, I understand. I truly understand what you're going through. But if I don't say I went through this, then you're not going to believe that I really understand what you're going through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So transparency is freedom.
Yes.
When you are transparent and you just let the chips fall where they may,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
this is what happened to me and it's my story.
Right.
And so it happened for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about Job, how, all that he went through, he still didn't doubt God.
Yeah. Yeah.
He lost everything
Mm-hmm.
outside,
Mm-hmm.
material possessions, but what was on the inside is
Mm-hmm.
what kept him going.
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't have a foundation with Jesus Christ and we don't depend on him,
Mm-hmm.
we are going to fall apart when things go wrong.
Right.
And I'm not saying that we won't, because
Sometimes we do
things. Yeah. You're definitely going to get down and you're going to get
Mm-hmm.
out and you're going to think, why is this happening? What
Right.
did I do?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first thing you say. what did I do to deserve all of this?
Mhm.
I mean, I've been trying to do right, but good things happen to bad people, and bad
Mhm.
things happen to good people.
Right.
That's just life.
Mhm.
But when we can overcome, no matter what we go through, that's where the testimony is.
Mhm.
Everything in life is a test. You
Mhm.
pass or you fail.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, please remember where you are. You know what excites me about this is because you don't smell like smoke. You know how sometimes people can go through things and they still have the smell of what they went through on them. Which is I'm not inserting condemnation in that situation. I'm not saying you know people need to be condemned for that. I'm not, because you know deliverance is a
Right.
process, you know that. And
Right.
so, but when people come through stuff and they don't smell like smoke, because what it reminds me of, because there was a lady one time, and I was talking to my husband about this today. And there was a lady one time, this is a different story, and then I want to get back to your story. But there was a lady one time, and she had lost a child. And so, and she was, I mean, she had lost a child, and maybe it was like 10 years when she lost her child. Well, she was grieving as though it happened yesterday, because I thought it was relatively new, even though 10 years, I mean, you know, everybody's grieving process is different. I understand that. And so she was telling me the story, and she said, nobody understands. Nobody. She said, people tell me, oh, I understand. She said, nobody understands. She said, unless you, and I mean, she was adamant about it. And you can see the bitterness, and you can see she would not have said this at the time. You can see she was angry with God because this happened. And she was going on. She said, nobody understands what I'm going through. And I said, I understand what you're going through. I said, well, she said, no, you don't. How can you understand what I'm going through? I said, because I have a child that's on the other side too. And she paused, she said, she said, really? I said, yes, I do. She said, how long ago? And at the time, it had been maybe like 5 years. And I said, 5 years ago, I have a daughter that went home to be with the Lord. And so she said, I didn't know that. And I said, I'm glad you didn't. I said, because this was my prayer to God, because God said he wouldn't give us more than we could bear. And he meant that. Sometimes we're like, God, this is all I can bear. You stretch me as far as I can be stretched, you know. But God knows what we need. He knows how to get us through. Like Job. I don't know that I want to go through that same situation that Job went through. I don't. Job had grace to be Job. Judy has grace to be Judy. Sharon has grace to be, you know, to be Sharon. And God will see that we get through it, not just barely get through it, because that was my cry. And I'm sure you had it too. That was my cry when I was going through that with my daughter. I don't want to pretend like I'm delivered. I don't want to have to face people and smile when I want to cry, you know, and I probably did that too. Well, I just don't want the fake stuff. Your deliverance is real. Now, God, show me your goodness in the land of the living. And he did. Now that's my story, Judy, and I'm sticking to it, but it's not about me. But you so excite me because I did not know this. If you would not have told me the story, I would not have believed it. If somebody would have said Judy went through being raped, I would have said, Judy who? Because you don't walk around like poor me. This is because and I don't know that you never went through that, because I realize it's a process, but I can say now it was time for you to write this book because of the freedom that sits upon your shoulders. And other people need the same freedom, Judy. So I'm so glad. I praise God that you were willing to be obedient to write it and to talk about it. So please talk, 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 talk until you can't talk anymore. Judy, also the cover of this book, of the Potter's Wheel. How did you come? What made you do that?
Well, you know
This
what?
picture.
It's funny because like in the mornings I'll walk sometimes, and that's usually when I just talk to God, because it's just me by myself, and you know I can just spend that time talking to God. And when I was asking about it, well, first of all, the From Ashes to Beautiful, God gave me that title like 30 years ago. So I've always had that title to write the book, because I prayed, and I always pray and ask God, what should this be, or what should I do? And that was the title that he gave me. But the thing is, it wasn't time to write the book yet. So I had that title, and I've been holding on to that title for years, but it just wasn't time yet.
Was
And
it
then
beautiful yet? you knew the ashes, but you didn't know the beauty at the time when you got the
I
title?
didn't know, I did not know, I didn't understand it. I
Right,
was
okay.
like, yeah, because everything hadn't happened.
Fascinating.
So I just kept hold of that book or that
Right.
title. And then I know you remember Sprouse Hall.
Yes, yeah,
My
yeah.
mom used to work there. And so when we'd go in there, I would watch people making their pottery.
Okay.
And I would just be fascinated at how, they were building it up, and then next thing you know, they would take it and they would slam it down because
Yeah.
it was lopsided or just wasn't going the way that they thought they would. And they'd get the water and mold it and make it a different way.
Yeah.
And I was always fascinated by that. And I said, you know what? We are daily on the
Yes.
potter's wheel, because
Yes.
God is the potter and we're the clay. And so he has to make us. And so I thought that is the perfect depiction of being made over when you've gone through hurt and, you felt like you were nothing, like you were in ruins and that life would never be the same or that life would never get better.
Right.
Then the pottery comes together. And yes, you have to put it in and fire it up for that in the high heat in order to make it strong. So we have to go through heat in order to get strong. I mean, we can't be strong if we don't go through anything.
Right.
And so I just I thought that would be the perfect picture to put on the front of the book, just being made over. And that is always my prayer: make me and mold me into what you would have me to be, so that I don't want people to see Judy, I want people to see Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Right. Wow. Wow, Judy. Wow. I don't want to give away everything in the book, but I have to touch a little bit on it because I mean, regardless of if I read the book out to you aloud, because I said to my friend, actually the illustrator of my book, I said, Michelle, you have to get this book. You have to get it. And I said to her, I'll mail this to you. And then I said, no, I want to keep this one. Get your own. Because I want to keep this because this is good. I want to keep this. And I mean, mailing it to her. I mean, get two for the price of one. That's kind of like a cheap shot. So you buy your own and I'll have mine. But this was really fascinating. One thing in the book, Judy, that I want you to talk about a little bit. There's a lot in this book, but one thing I want you to talk about is you being abused sexually growing up. How did you overcome it? Because you weren't abused one time, you were abused 3 times, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about how you overcame it.
That just totally devastated me and made me feel like I was worthless. I also said in the book that I had a family member that would constantly tell me that I was nothing and always put me down and then would tell me I better not tell my parents and I was afraid of the person, so I never said anything about it. I just went through the abuse. So I had a whole lot that I was holding on to that I just never talked about. And it's devastating because you have to smile and you have to go on like nothing's going on because you can't tell. That was those words, don't you dare tell anyone. And I was
So this person that used to put you down, he was the abuser as well sexually? Was that the same person? Okay, it was a different person. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, but being raped honestly makes you feel like you are the worst person in the world and that nobody would ever want you, and just like you're ashes. You're nothing. You're nothing to them. I mean, and it's a power thing, and I know all that now, but at the time, you go through it and you just find a way to cope, I guess. I guess that's what I did. Just I think my coping mechanism was sending cards to people and trying to make people happy. That's how I coped with it, not focusing on what I was going through, but just focusing on trying to help somebody else. And I've always been a people pleaser.
Right.
Never wanted anyone to be mad at me. And, if someone said they wanted something, I went right out and got it for them because it would make them happy, not caring how I felt. It was always about other people. And that's one thing, even through writing this, that it's freed me to say, you know what? It's time you start loving yourself, because if I don't love myself,
yes,
I can't love anyone else.
that's exactly right.
And if I don't love myself, I'm teaching people, you don't have to love me.
That's
I'm
right.
still going to love you.
Right.
No, it's not like that. And that's what I would tell women, men: love and respect yourself, set boundaries. And if people aren't coming up to those, it's time to go. I'm not wasting another day on anyone that disrespects me or lies to me or tries to string me along. It's not happening. I'm done.
That's exactly right.
Those days are over. Yeah.
I mean, I had to find out that no was a godly answer. N-O, no, was a godly answer, because somehow we think that's the flesh and we can't do that. We have to say yes about everything. We have to do everything and be everything to everybody. And I mean, I personally had to find out that no is good. And I don't have to give you an answer, a reason why I said no, because I realized sometimes when I said no, I had to give a reason for it. And sometimes the reason I gave for it was a lie, to be honest, if I'm honest. And now I just realize that if I say no, it's just no. Because sometimes if God is telling me to say no about something, he doesn't give me 10 reasons why he said no. So if he's not giving me 10 reasons why he said no, guess what? I'm not giving you 10 reasons.
Exactly.
So.
And then people say, oh, you're so mean if you say no. But you know what? If they don't feel like doing something, they won't do it, or they'll gladly tell someone no. So it's always, and I think that as mothers, we need to teach our daughters to love and respect themselves from a very young age, because if they grow up with that, then it's gonna, and I'm not saying that I wasn't loved as a child. My parents loved me. I mean, but they were working and trying to support us. Things were tough back then, but they always showed us how much they loved us. That was not a question, but it was outside forces that made us, or that made me feel like you're nothing. And I said, sometimes when God does have a calling on your life, you're going to go through stuff that maybe someone else wouldn't. Because if you didn't go through anything, how could he really use a person that, just, or someone that said, you know what, I'm not going to give up on God regardless of what I go through. If God allowed it, because the story of Job also shows us that anything that the enemy wants to do to us, God has to give permission. So God allowed all this to happen to me for a reason. And
the thing that I think about with this is the scripture, and I know you're so familiar with this, but how God says, many are the afflictions of the righteous. He says, many are the afflictions. He says, but I will deliver you from, he didn't say some of them. He said, I will deliver you from them all. And God's deliverance is thorough. It's not like I'll barely get you through it so you can get to the next place. But he says, I will deliver you from them all. And that's what he meant, all, A-L-L. And you know what I like, because and this is not about me right now, but I love what you're saying here, because when you talked about being a people pleaser, and that the book I just put out, it's a children's book, and I've been labeling that book with bully proofing your children, because I love what you said, because you came up in a home, and I knew your parents, not real well, but the sense I had and the love they had upon them was so evident. And I didn't even know them that well, but their presence represented something to me, represented something dynamic to me, especially during that time. But I mean, and so you had godly parents, but that didn't stop you from going through stuff.
No.
You had to go through stuff. And I love it, because the book that I did, the TT, the Color Calico, even though it's talking about a cat, but it's you relate it to children, and it's like you have to stabilize your kids. You have to
Yes.
make them so that they know that the pressures they get from the outside of people telling them you're not good enough, you're not cute enough, you're not this enough, you're not light enough, you're not dark enough, your hair's not long enough, your hair's too short, your butt's too fat. I mean, it goes on and on and on and
Oh,
on.
it does.
But
It does.
if we know that we were divinely designed by God, then
Yes.
it sets the platform for us, the foundation,
Absolutely.
doesn't it?
Absolutely. It does. And
Yes,
every kid, every child should read your book because
yes,
it has to start when they're young. Because
yes,
once you're older, I mean, that stuff, those scars stay with you.
yeah, yeah.
You know, you can be physically abused and it shows on the outside, but
Mm-hmm.
that mental abuse is something that just doesn't go away.
Yes, yes.
I mean, it takes time. It
Mm-hmm.
takes prayer. It takes God to help you to go through it. But
Mm-hmm.
every child should know and love themselves for who they were made. God didn't make a mistake when he created each one of us the way that he created us.
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
created us all different for a
Mm-hmm.
reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if we were all alike, just imagine how horrible that would be.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But because he made us all different, he made each and every one of us, he took the time to make each and every one of us special. I
For a
mean,
purpose.
and absolutely for a
Mm-hmm.
purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Purpose.
Yeah. Judy, I know, was it harder to tell your story or your mother's story? Or how did that flow with you? How did that work with you? Was it hard to tell your mom's story or was it easier? How did that part work?
You know what? I think I mean, it was hard for me to tell her story because I hated, you know, what she had to go through as
Right.
well.
Mm-hmm.
But it also encouraged me because I saw how strong she was.
Did you
And
know about your mother's story? And did you know it growing
I
up, or did you just know about it at the end?
I didn't know it growing up until I had I think it was my first child. We
Okay.
were talking one day and she mentioned something and I was just like, I didn't say anything.
Right.
'Cause I was like never the one that would say, well, what do you mean this? What happened? I just never was like that. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like if somebody wanted to tell me, then they'll tell me. So
Okay.
I think she was saying it for me to question her, but I didn't. And
Okay.
then later on, before she passed, then is when I found out everything, you know, that
Mm-hmm.
she had to go through. But and I told her then, I said, well, you know, I am going to write a book. And I think she knew she was going to be passing off the scene. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, like even during the pandemic, I thought, you know what, February was 19 years that she had passed away. I said, if I
Really?
don't do this, yes,
Wow. Okay. Mm-hmm.
I said, if I don't do it, when am I going to do it? It's
Right.
been 19 years. Get
Mm-hmm.
on this. And
Right.
so during the pandemic, I like for a whole year, I had
Mm-hmm.
been writing and just, you know, really, really. So yeah, it was over a little over a year that it took me to write the book. And like I said, if I would have written everything, it would have probably been 800 or 900 pages, and I wasn't
Right.
going through that. I
Mm-hmm.
just picked out, you know, stuff just to let people see that you can go through trials and you can go through rape and yes, I did try to kill myself because I
That's what
just
I was
felt
going to ask you. How did
I
that
was that
affect you? Right.
worthless.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt that worthless, that why am I even here?
Mm-hmm.
Why bother living? You know,
Mm-hmm.
everybody would be better off if I'm not here.
Mm-hmm.
And God just didn't allow it to be so.
Right.
Um, but it again, everything was working for a purpose.
Right.
And
Right.
now someone that may want to kill themselves, I can tell them, look, there is hope. You cannot
Yes.
give up. And
Yes.
every morning I pray for those that may be contemplating suicide, that God would
Yes.
just touch their hearts and just wrap them and let them feel his love.
Yes,
Because
Judy.
it's terrible, you know, to think that there are people that feel so alone
Mm-hmm.
that nobody will understand or nobody will love them. That's
Mm-hmm.
a horrible feeling, to feel like you're so alone and that nobody cares or that nobody will love you. And I said, I just never wanted anyone to come into my presence and not feel loved.
Right.
Because of the way that I felt. And I believe that's how my mom was too. She was not shown love growing up, but she was the most loving person.
Yes.
And I believe that she felt that same way, that she didn't want people to come into her presence and not feel the love.
Right, right. Did your mother know about your story?
No.
Okay. Okay.
No.
She knows about it now from heaven, and she knows she knows she knows about it now. You know that those great cloud of witnesses surrounding us. Guess what, Judy? She's in that crowd. And so learning it from there, that's a good thing. But I am so glad that you're telling the story. I am so glad. Please talk about it. Talk about it. I mean, because the more you talk about it, the more you can be more delivered if there's, if there's a thing, and we know that it is, because God is so faithful to us. I mean, I can't tell you. And I read part of this book out loud to my husband. He was like, I said, Herbie, you cannot go back and strangle men. They're done. I said, you can't, because he has this father thing on the inside. And why would you? I was like, Judy's fine. And you can't strangle the men, because according to the book, most of them are dead, aren't they?
Yes.
But the faithfulness of God, I mean, when I see you, Judy, and Judy is one, just for the people listening in, you're one of the administrators on our women's page, Divinely Designed Women of Wisdom. And I mean, and that is such a key one. And now I understand why God laid you on my heart. And now I understand, I'm getting more of a picture of that, because you recognize the importance of being divinely designed, because now you know what to abort, what to do, what not to do, and you know how to lead people in that way that they don't have to go through everything we went through. I mean, you're going to go through things in life. If you're past 2 years old, you're going to go through stuff. But how to navigate in it is where people like us come in.
Right.
Teach people how to navigate. You don't go there, don't go to the right, because a trap is not a trap if you know it's there. It's only a trap if you don't know it's there. And so you speaking out and being open and being honest, Judy, if I could hug you through the screen, I would, because it is such a dynamic testimony. I mean, God, I know he's smiling. I mean, I'm just now finding out some things, but of course God knew this all along. But I mean, you are a picture of the goodness and the mercy and the grace of God, how powerful all of that is. And I, and I want to thank you for that. I mean, I want to go on and talk. I mean, we have to do part 2 of this, Judy.
Okay.
We have to. This is so good. I mean, this is so good. And I said to Judy, to people listening in, I said, really, and whoever's listening in, any producers, listen to me. This should be, once you read this, you'll understand, this should be a movie. Really, it should, Judy, because it's almost impossible that one person could go through this and still be standing and smiling and wanting to help other people and not being a serial killer. And I think, you know what? I don't know how I would respond, but to see the love of God on you and in you is just phenomenal. It is a testimony of, and I mean, if anybody know me, and you know me a bit, Judy, but if anybody know me, one thing I hate is fake stuff.
Right.
I mean, I really hate that. It was like, we don't have to help God out by being fake. And I'm talking about not just in the world, I'm talking about in the church. We don't have to fake miracles. We don't have to fake we're delivered. We don't have to fake, because God has those things for real for us.
Yes.
So let's not spend time in that arena of faking it, thinking we're helping God out. We don't. So when I hear real testimonies like this, and it just shows me the goodness and the mercy and the loving kindness of God and how powerful he is, because the natural percussion, is that the word? Progression. Yes. Of this is really gloom and doom.
Right.
The way you turned out is not natural. That's supernatural. So I don't want to end this. I want you to end it. Talk to me, Judy. What do you want your audience to know? What do you want them, once they order this book?
Yeah.
Once you order this book on Amazon.com, You can go to Amazon and also please leave a review. Please leave a review. And I'm talking to myself too. I'm going to do one as soon as I get off this phone because it was dynamic. I can't say that enough. And I don't usually give kudos to a lot of books. Sometimes I get halfway through the book and it's like, oh, I go to the end because the front is so boring. But I mean, every part of this page captivated me. It captivated me to the point where it's like, I need to get some tools. I need to get some tools from this book because it was good. One thing you said in this book, Judy, before I let you finish up for me, you talked about purpose beyond the pain. I love that. I wrote that down. Purpose beyond the pain. Talk to me, Judy. Talk to us.
So you know what? I feel like, and I've always said to people, sometimes we have to go through things to help somebody else. Yeah. So that I said, if one person reads this book and it delivers them or gives them that freedom to say, this is what happened to me, and I'm not going to take it anymore, or empowers them to be who God created them to be, then all of my suffering was worth it. There's a everything that we go through has a purpose. No matter what it is, good or bad, there's a purpose behind it. And so now, like I said at the end, you know, just because I wrote this book and just because I went through the things I went through, does that mean that I'm never going to go through another trial? Absolutely not. Does it mean I'm not going to be hurt again? Absolutely not. I'm going to be, but I'm not going to let it defeat me or make me feel like I can't go on, because I am so worthy of everything that's going to come my way. And you know, I've always put others ahead of myself and never really taken care of myself. And this is a season where I'm just saying, you know what? Not that I'm not going to stop caring for people and stuff like that, but it's about me now.
Yeah, right.
Because I want to go out there and say, I want to go to the homeless shelter and say, can I come and talk to the girls and just let them know that they can make it? You know, I may not have everything that I wish I had at this point in my life, but you know what? These material things, we can't take them with us. So why are we gathering material wealth? It's about being loving and caring and honest and showing people that they matter, encouraging people. I just can't stress that enough. You know, we don't know when we're standing in the grocery store. We don't know what the person next to us has gone through in their life. And they may be having a bad day. Does that mean we have to snap out on them because they snap out on us? No. We have to show patience and long suffering, and love is the most important part. You know, we just have to love people because we just don't know. And one of the things I said about writing this book is that people are going to be shocked when they read what I've gone through, because they would have never known it. You know, had I not been totally transparent about it. But that's what I want everyone to be like. You don't have to, just because you've gone through something, carry that weight for the rest of your life. Let it go. Give it to God and let him just replace and love you and just cleanse you and heal you. We have to heal, because if we don't heal, we are going to hurt other people or shut down, or, you know, never really receive everything that God has for us. So healing is important. And just because you're in the church doesn't mean you're not going to be hurt, because some of the people that are powerful in the church are the ones doing the hurting. And so that's another,
that's another book, Judy.
You know,
that's another book.
Aren't you working on that?
Yes, navigating within the church. You're right.
Yes. I mean, it's important, because there's a lot of church hurt, a lot of it, and that shouldn't be. Should not be.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? This I mean, every type thing you say makes me think on something. Because I mean, it's so thought provoking, the things that you say. But do you think you learned through what you went through, how to navigate in this portion of your life so that you don't have to go through? I mean, I call it utilizing your trials.
Yes.
Don't waste your trials. Somebody used to say, don't waste your trials. What you went through, don't waste it. So you learn how to navigate and how to be strategic in certain things and do what you're doing now, how to teach others how to navigate. So, because everybody doesn't have to do what Job did. We learned from Job that he said, the very thing that I feared came upon me. We have to remember that part in Job, the very thing. So fear has power like faith has power. God watches over his word to perform his word, and Satan watches over fear so he can perform it. That's the way that it goes in. And so what we've gone through, we've learned how to navigate and to teach others how to navigate. Does that mean that your life is going to be trial-free? No, but it won't devastate you to the point where you don't recover.
Exactly.
Because what we've gone through, and I have to say, some of the things I've gone through in my life, I mean, if I would have heard people say this before, Judy, I would have thought, really, are you joking? But I wouldn't change it.
Right.
Because it sturdied me. It taught me how faithful God is and how good he is, and how if he can take me through, and I'm going to say this, if he can take me through having a child go on the other side to heaven, to pass, if he can take me through that, and I can have this joy unspeakable in my life now, if he can take me through that, it left me with, he can take me through anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you can say the same thing, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. And I even said in the book that, maybe not at the time, but I do appreciate everything that I had to go through, because I wouldn't be the person that I am today.
Right.
I wouldn't. And I remember I used to always, like on Father's Day, and I would say to my dad in church that I thank you for the beatings you gave me, because it made me who I am today. Because, had they not corrected us and shown us that love through correction, who knows where we would be?
Yes.
And so I remember one time I said, Dad, I have a question for you. And we were in Sunday school, and I said, did it hurt you? I said, you know how parents always say, this is going to hurt me worse than it hurt you?
Right.
And I said, did it hurt you to beat us? He said, no.
Did he say no?
I said, you could have paused for a little bit. But he said, no. But that's just what God does.
Yes.
He corrects us. And he takes us through things so that we can be better. And so that's the bottom line. I just want people that have been hurt, and some people I'm sure have gone through worse things than I have, but they're still holding it inside. And if this gives you the courage to speak up and see that you can help somebody else that's listening today, could have gone through something far worse. Speak up.
Yes.
We all need to hear that. We need to hear. We need to empower one another.
Yes.
Because if we're not in this together, then we won't be able to make it. But when you have people that you can count on and that you can trust, and that is there to build you up and not tear you down, then that you can make it regardless of what's going on. But most importantly, you've got to have Jesus Christ in your life, because you can't survive without him.
Right. That's right. No matter how much money you have, no matter how good you think you look, without Jesus in your life, it's like a And you know what, the thing that we found, and I know you would say the same thing, we have, and my dad used to say, and I used to think, oh, Dad, you just don't know. But he used to say, in your lifetime, if you have two good friends, you are rich. And I used to say, two? Really? Two? And on Facebook now, I got 4,000 friends, and you ain't talking about two. But you know what? We have out of court friends, people that we say hi to, but there's very few inner court friends. And those people that are inner court friends are people you can go heart to heart with and know who you are from the inside out. You don't have anything to prove. You can have bad days, they love you. You can have good days, they love you. There's not a lot of those.
No.
You know,
No.
there's not a lot of those, but the ones that we have, we cherish and
Yes.
we love them. But there's a time in our life when we want everybody to accept us. That's never going to happen. And we have to tell our kids that it's never going to happen. If you spend your life trying to make people love you, because I mean, you had said something in the book about how people, and you can correct me, but how people thought you were stuck up. Was that stuck up? Was that you?
Yeah.
That they thought you were stuck up, but they would, and they read it wrong. Really, you were insecure, and it appeared like that. And when I read that, that was so funny, Jude, because I was always accused of that. I was always accused of being stuck up. I was so insecure, but I
Right.
didn't want to say that. And so
Right.
the quietness made people think that, oh, she just don't want to deal with me. That was not in me a little bit,
Absolutely.
you know? And
Absolutely.
so, you know,
Absolutely.
people are people, but we have to
Yeah.
be settled with who we are in Christ and move
Right.
accordingly. So,
Exactly.
I mean, Judy, we got
Exactly.
to do this again. Okay. Everything you say sparks something to me. Go ahead. You have to close again.
Oh, but I just, and two, I'm so grateful for the sons that God gave me, even when the doctors told me I would never have children. I just thank God for them because they have encouraged me. I was scared to, you know, even tell them my story and for them to have to read that.
So what was
but
their response, Judy? I'm curious.
they couldn't believe it. They said they just would have never known that I've gone through the things that I've gone through. Because they've always told me, Mom, you're the most encouraging person, and you know, we can talk to you about anything, and you're always going to support us and love us regardless of what we do or say or act, you know. And that is a mother's unconditional love. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was just it was hard for me to have them read it, but they both said that they couldn't put the book down
Yeah, right.
either. And that was one of the things that I prayed. I was like, just let people, when they're reading it, that they don't want to put it down because they, you know, they are, and then that it helps, you know. That's my biggest purpose for telling my story, that someone else can heal and someone else can see that regardless of what you go through, you can make it. Just keep being encouraged, keep your head up, keep pressing forward. When you're going through things, being by yourself and being down and thinking is not the best thing, go out for a walk, or you know, call someone you haven't talked to in a while, or go, I know we can't go visiting people like we used to, but call someone on the phone and talk to them. When we take the focus off of ourselves and put it on someone else, it makes us feel so much better.
Yes.
And so it's just yeah, your life can go from ashes, which is nothing, to something beautiful. You think about it, the cocoon, the caterpillar, and how ugly it is, but it turns into something beautiful.
Right.
And so that's exactly how our lives can transform into something beautiful.
Yes, yes. Judy,
And
I
put
love
your
you
book
so
up.
much.
Do you have your book? Do you have your book?
But this is not about me, Judy. This is about you. Yeah, I have the book.
Oh, what? Put your book up. Yes, put that up too. Buy her book on Amazon.
Yes.
Are you at Barnes and Noble as well?
I'm at Barnes and Noble and Amazon and
Noble.
ebook.
An ebook, and she has a coloring book out now too for the children. Buy
Judy,
those
I
books.
love you.
Buy it for the children. Every child should have this book and read it.
And you know, I think really, I'm gonna hold both of these up, Judy, because I think really, I mean, we should almost have a package deal.
Yeah.
We should it should almost be a package deal, because kids need it young. They need it young, so that, and parents need to see what their kids need to navigate around.
Right.
Even if they have good parents, because I love your story, and we got to do this again, because you had loving, good parents. You're not just, I mean, I can hear people say that, but you don't know their parents. But I knew your parents to a degree. They were good people. They were good pastors. They were good leaders. And so, but that you still didn't escape going through certain things. And so from our parents, and my mother used to say, she said, to know better is to do better. She said, I was a good mother. Your dad was a good dad, but I want you to take it to the next level. That's not offensive. I mean, sometimes we want to duplicate the same thing our parents did because our parents were good, and that's, I mean, I understand to a degree, but our parents in their right mind, your mother from heaven wants you to take it to the next level.
Right.
She wants you to take it to the next level. And so in this book, it shows men and women how to navigate, what to look for, signs of what to go around, what to do and what not to do, how to respond and how not to respond, what's important and what's not important. So please get this book. It's an easy read. I have to say that it's an easy read, and that's what we want. Because if there's too many words, I gotta look at words to a thesaurus. I mean, really,
Right.
I have a lot of those with bookmarks in them. But I mean, this is really a good book to read.
Right.
It is really a good book, and everybody should get it. So look at this. It is called From Ashes to Beauty: A Story of Hope for the Hurting by Judith Webb, and you can get this on Amazon.com. And leave a review after you read it, and look for my review, because I promise I'm going to leave one. I promise.
You know
But
what? I'm actually going to be selling some T-shirts too.
Are you?
Yes, I was walking one day.
Oh.
And I was just, praying about speaking up about this book. And it was just like God spoke to me and said, how can you tell people to trust me and you're not trusting me? How can you tell people not to fear and you're allowing fear to stop you from things? Yeah. And I said, it's so true. I can't tell you to do something if I'm not doing it.
Right.
But then
do you have one of the T-shirts?
So I wrote this. Fear said, keep quiet. I told fear, I can't let you win.
Judy, where can we purchase this? Can we get these on Amazon?
You can let me. No, I'm just doing that personally.
Okay.
And then I have my From Ashes to Beautiful.
Oh, I want one, Judy.
And it says, I don't look like what I've been through.
Oh, Judy, I want one. And don't send me one, Judy. I would like to pay for one, okay? Okay. I don't want to see one. You only have my address. That is, hold up the last one again, the ashes. I love that. And I love the color too.
Yes, the purple. From Ashes to Beautiful. I don't look like what I've been through.
I love this. So where can we get the T-shirts?
If you want one, just inbox me or send me a message on Messenger, whatever. What you want, the color. My email is judiwebb0208@att.net.
Could you say that again? Could you say that again a little slower, please?
And it's all lowercase, JUDIWEBB.
Okay.
0208@att.net.
Okay. And you have to put that on Facebook.
Yeah, it's on there.
Okay.
And then I'm on Facebook as Judith and Webb.
Okay. Okay. You have to put that on our women's page too.
Oh, yes, I definitely will. Okay.
Well, this was a great time. I love this. I want to talk again. I tried to not tell everything.
That's okay.
But I still want to, because there's a lot more in here to cover. It is a lot more to cover. This is a dynamic book, and I love you so much. Sometimes I think, how come we weren't close when we were in Indiana? But now is the time. Now is the time. When I think we would have cried when it was time for me to leave Indiana, or if you went somewhere. So it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. I love you, girl. You are really a dynamic woman, a dynamic, beautiful woman of God. Please. And we're not expecting this to be, like 1,000 sold. We want this to be a bestseller. We want this to sell. We want this to affect people. And I know your humility it affects one person, but in reality, that's good for you. But I want this to affect millions of people. I want this to remain, when you're on the other side, that it affects and changes lives. And I know it will, because God has a purpose for everything. He does.
Absolutely.
And so,
he does.
And I'm so grateful, God. Thank you for allowing my sister to write this book. I am so grateful. And Judy, I want to pray for you before we leave, and then we'll do part 2 to this.
Okay.
Okay. Father,
Okay.
I thank you in the name of Jesus, Father, for my sister Judy, Lord. I thank you for giving her the boldness, giving her holy boldness to write this book and to be not to be so candid, but to be open and honest and transparent with women and with men concerning her experience, Father. You cause her to overwhelmingly conquer. And Father, women and men need to know that nothing has to separate them from your love, that your power invading their lives can transform them forever. And so, Father, I thank you for transforming my sister, and I thank you for the work that you've called her to, and for all the lives she will affect, Father, in the name of Jesus, Lord. I love you, Judy.
I love you too.
God bless you, girl.
God bless you
I
too.
love you. And let's
Love
talk
you.
soon. And don't mail me a t-shirt. I want to buy my own t-shirt,
No.
please. Love you, Judy.
Love you too.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.